Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Table Takes with the best crew ever on the internet on Twitch. You've never seen a crew like this before. I can see two pictures of myself, and it's freaking me out. All right, everybody. So we've got a really extra special show. We are joined by an extra special guest, Noir Enigma in the flesh here. Well, not in the flesh, virtually. With us.
That's me.
That's you. We have some people behind the scenes who are helping us out for the very first time. Thank you so much for the person who's helping us out behind the scenes so much. And we're bringing some new news. I want to go ahead and introduce my co-hosts with me today who've taken the time out of their week to spend some lovely time talking about some table takes news. Emma Larkins. Hi.
How are you? Good. Things are good.
Good. How do you feel? How's your belly? How's the things? What's going on with you?
Things are good. I had a little internet scare this morning, but came on right before Table Takes. I think they looked at the internet, realized the show was going to happen, and they're like, we got to fix Emma's internet specifically to make sure, because the show must go on. So yeah, internet came back. I've been doing stuff in the world, which is messing with my head a lot. I went to a restaurant in person because fully vaccinated. My 2 weeks was up. I was just, it was so weird because my husband and I were sitting there like this, like, what should we do? And we're just looking at people, joking and laughing. Just like, how? How are you being normal right now? So I don't know. I think it's going to take some adjustment. Played board games with my friend Javion in person. That was fun. Javion also had a birthday. So that was fun. I went to a birthday party with like 4 people total. I'm not ready for, I don't know, like 50 people. I don't know what I'm going to do about that. But 4 was okay. But I just kept like looking. I was like, I want to poke you. Like, you, who are you're saying things. You're not my husband. You know, I've been spending all my time with you. It's like, you're a different person. But yeah, it's good.
Well, you're going out into the world. Congratulations. You're going into a brave new universe. Tell me how it goes. Tell me how it is out there. Coming back to the show is Noir Enigma. I always feel like it's like a Las Vegas magician, you know, like Enigma, and then like tigers should appear. You know what I mean?
Watch as I roll nothing but ones consistently. Ooh.
Noir, thank you for coming back and joining us for another episode. How's your week been?
It's been pretty chill. No Enigma mind freak. Sorry. I'm easily distracted. Sorry. But it's been pretty cool. I've got a couple of games coming to an end, so I'm in that weird moment where we're all talking to each other, but it's just like it's almost over. So, you know, it's been like a nice chill and slightly emotional week.
Aww. Nice. Well, thank you for joining us. We love having you here. Bonsai, the baby. How are you?
What is up? I'm doing great. You know what? I also explored the outside world. Look at that. All us fully vax people coming in after waiting 2 weeks. But yeah, I went to the movie theaters. It was interesting. So they can reserve seats and they block out the 2 other seats once you get it. And I will say though, I did have some like the movie wasn't great, but it was cool to go outside and eat popcorn, I guess.
Okay.
But I did have these moments where I saw people walking around without their mask, and I was like,
yeah.
Oh, so unseemly. Cover your nose.
Yeah, cover your face. Cover yourself.
Cover yourself.
What movie did you go see though?
Okay, so I cannot remember the name or the correct character because I know it's not John something with
Jason Statham.
Jason Statham.
John Stamos.
John Stamos. You know, all those. John, yeah.
You saw Wrath of Man.
Wrath of Man. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
That's been driving me crazy since we started talking about it.
Wow. So it must have been a really good movie that you remember. Nobody who started it, what the name of it was.
It was mostly like, sometimes you want to watch a movie where a dude goes around punching people in the face with guns, and that hit the mark, just like pap, 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 kung fu, gun kung fu, throw it out the window, revenge story. You don't really need to know the plot. It's just, bang, bang.
Just so generic. Just even the name. Like, what does that even mean? Like, I've already forgotten it because it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. I just am imagining John Stamos still.
I want that. If it had been John Stamos, I would go. I would be going right now. I would leave the show. I'd be like, I'm going to see
Uncle
this movie.
Jesse.
Cut it out.
Oh my gosh.
As for me, I have the exciting news of saying that today's the day I'm finally going to go to McDonald's and eat the BTS meal.
What is that? What does that mean?
Oh, it's it's the K-pop. They charge you $1 more just so you can get those special cards. You know that, right?
I would pay whatever
but
they
it's
want
so
me
many
to.
chicken nuggets, though.
Okay, Emma, do you know who BTS is?
I actually do. They are a K-pop.
Yes, the best K-pop band in the world. RM is my bias. And they are now partnering together with McDonald's to do a meal for the BTS meal, which is just chicken nuggets and fries. But it's the meal that they said that they eat, I guess. I don't know. So I've been waiting all week to go to my local McDonald's and to fight off the hordes of probably teenage girls to get this special meal.
I would guess. I actually have a soft spot. McDonald's is my guilty pleasure. I eat a fair amount of McDonald's. I'm not ashamed to say that. But I bet the chicken nuggets are a lot better in Korea. Like if they do it in the style of the Korean fried chicken, then because I know McDonald's meals are different in different places. So
well, you get the Korean sauces too. That's another thing that they
Oh, okay. That's
so
cool.
Confession time. I accidentally got the BTS meal this week.
Accidentally, I love that.
I just saw chicken nuggets and I was like, I'm doing this.
Wait, did you get a card?
I didn't know what it
card
was.
you got with it? Did you get?
Wait, what is this
I don't-
card? It's
Like
really
it's
didn't say what
supposed to
the
be
card
one of
is.
it's supposed to be like all the band members
It's
eating
probably
sexy
in here
wings
somewhere still,
on
but
some
like
fries
I
and
just
chicken nuggets.
waiting all week to get these chicken nuggies, and you got them on
It's on Grubhub.
accident.
It's on Grubhub.
Oh.
I saw chicken nuggets and I was inebriated. And so I was just like, well, get some chicken nuggets with a
my
weird
goodness.
name.
I love it.
Well, I'm super stoked, and I will report back about these hopefully delicious chicken nuggets. And hopefully I get a card that won't be like the McDonald's Pokemon fiasco where I had to buy a card for $90 from a guy in a trench coat behind the McDonald's. So
I mean, I honestly thought BTS stood for bringing the sauce, but
you know what? I'm a BTS fan, and I don't even know what BTS stands for, but
what does it stand?
Oh gosh, chat, help us out.
yeah,
See,
Derek knows. Derek knows.
yeah, Derek knows. So we've got some really great headlines coming up for you guys. One of the big ones that we want to talk about today is the Gen Con TV charity campaign, which kicks off today. I'm really excited about this. There's some really awesome people involved. And the two charities that the proceeds are going to be split by are really awesome charities. One is the Chicago Bail Fund, which is a really awesome program to help support people who are currently in the Cook County, Illinois jail system, who cannot afford to make their bail payments. And the bail bond system in this country is really awful and very corrupt, and look into it in your own time. But a lot of the times people spend time in jail and prison because of the fact that they just can't afford their bail. So this organization helps them to do that. And then there also is the second organization, which is Welcome to Chinatown, which helps struggling Chinatown restaurants during the pandemic who couldn't make as much revenue as they did before the pandemic to be able to make up some of that lost revenue and to order some meals for some people and to get, egg rolls and sushi and dim sum back into the hands of the people where they belong. So that's those two great organizations. They're doing Rivals of Waterdeep and Asians Represent One Shot. We love Asians Represent here. Daniel Kwan, Stephen Hyung, Akath Chen, Sharif Jackson, and Tanya DePass are going to be included in that. And they're also going to be playing the Book of Inner Alchemy from the Candlekeep Mysteries, written by former TableTakes guest Daniel Kwan, who came on 2 weeks ago, who will also be there as well. And they're going to be some cool donations, which will affect gameplay as well. That sounds really, really cool.
Ooh, I always love that. That's so fun.
Please check that out. Did we get a donation?
Yeah, we got a $25 donation right now.
Louis?
Little Louis. Thank you for giving to charity. There you go.
And that song was just for free. That was
There you go.
Every person who donates gets a free song from Bunch.
Oh gosh.
That just happened, folks. So yeah,
or from Emma.
Or from Emma.
Emma.
This is my song is just the it just pick random things. No matter what you play, it sounds good.
It's beautiful. So yes, please check that out, and please share with other people. Put it onto your social media as well about what we're doing. And even after the program ends, continue to support those two charities and continue to donate to them, because what they're doing is really, really awesome stuff for the community as well. And also, if you live in a place that's near, you have a Chinatown in your local community, go to your Chinatown, get vaccinated like the rest of us, and go out and support your local businesses as well. Noir,
yes,
you have some a Twitter iOS press release news to give us.
All right, everybody, stand back. Some serious stuff is going down. All right. So, for those not in the know, I hate to break it to you, but Matt Mercer just announced or tweeted this week that campaign 2 is coming to an end rapidly. So if you're not caught up, get caught up. But yes, campaign 2 is coming to an end. And I brought this up because Critical Role takes up a lot of space in the TTRPG community. It's kind of like the face of actual plays, and I just thought that with campaign 2 ending, it would be fantastic to kind of start thinking about what campaign 3 could have that we currently don't have. That would be great for the face of actual play. Like, I would love to see additional cast members, perhaps some of color. That would be dope.
Wow, bold. That's a bold hot take. Wow.
All I'm saying, and this is why I will never be casted on anything Critical Role related, but all I'm saying is that we have seen a lot of POC guests on Critical Role that have fantastic chemistry with the group. Mm-hmm. And I know that this is their game and that they're friends. But right now I feel like Critical Role has a responsibility to show that people that play don't just look like Matt, don't just look like Taliesin, don't just look like Travis, don't just look like Laurel, but they look kind of like us. So if people are coming into the hobby via Critical Role, I think it would be a lot easier for us to weed out some of the more problematic elements that this space has if the flagship show didn't look like something that was easily digestible for people with problematic viewpoints.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
totally
make life harder for Nazis.
Exactly. TableTakes, make life harder for Nazis.
Message we get behind.
We're at a point anywhere. This is any creators, anyone doing panels, I put together panels for conventions. I ask guests on for streams, like here at TableTakes, all these places. Is you just have to start diversity first. Like anything you're saying, like you can't just say like, oh, this is start from friend group or whatever. Like you have to have this in mind before you're starting. Even in case you get popular or in case you don't, it's just like, just take a look and say, that's why, it's like,
exactly.
Why is this just like, why is my panel? Why is my company? Why is my friend group just all white people?
And we could try to appeal to your better angels by saying, diversity should be first and foremost in your mind. I'm not about that life. I'm a petty, spiteful person. So I'm going to appeal to the devil on your shoulder, which is I want any project, any panel, anything that you make to piss Nazis off. And nothing pisses them off like seeing people they consider inferior given a platform. So if you create something that doesn't make a Nazi go, oh man, then you're messing up. So like, let's step it up and make Nazis mad.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm sorry, Bonsai, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, also to promote
stuff.
like some of these other like hey, there's already a lot of like awesome basically tabletop games out there, streaming crews like Waterdeep, you can check out Table Story, Roll for It, all of those people. Like it's not just the Matt Mercer's crew. There's like a whole bunch, and I suggest please check out these folks, give them some love, give them some follows, give them all the attention and love, because they're already out there. Just give them more love.
But I think Nomura has a point. A lot of people, Matt Mercer's crew, that is their kind of gateway drug into this whole thing, into this whole subculture. And so if your first introduction is this like blindingly white crew of people, then maybe you're going to be like, maybe this isn't for me, and maybe I don't have a space in this. And so I think that Matt has like an obligation with his huge, gigantic platform. He talks the talk a lot of time, but he doesn't necessarily always walk the walk. And so I would love to see for the next iteration for him to actually start walking the walk about a lot of the stuff. He does talk a lot on his Twitter, and he does, talk about diversity and promotion of other people, but it's like, okay, but like, how about on your show, my guy? So I would like to see more of that actually happening. I feel like, the whole show is such an opportunity to set the standard for, the genre, but that remains to be seen. My whole thing though is, why is he saying it's ending rapidly? That to me is like, ooh,
so from what I understand, and I'm gonna do this without spoiling anything. Major foes were fought and defeated, and a lot of people made the assumption that, oh shit, is the show over? And I think this tweet was it was to combat that, saying, whoa, we know that if this were the end, it wouldn't be satisfactory. This isn't the end, but it's coming. But this isn't it. So we're going to give you that satisfactory ending. So I think that's what that was for. And just to give credit, to be fair, the production team of Critical Role does have a lot of really fantastic people of color, people that I've been a fan of for a while. But what's important right now is in front of the camera, because we need to stop having things that are easy for Nazis to digest. And nothing is easier for them to digest than nothing but white folk.
Yeah.
Let's just
I think what's important too is like it's important to reach out and have Black people of color in front of the camera, but you can't just shove them out there. Like, you do need to have a you need to have a framework. You need to put the safety in place. You need to have the moderators in there, and none of that should be a blocker to say like, oh, well, it's too hard to do it, so we can't do it. Right. It's just like, there's definitely cases where it's like hiring for diversity, and you don't investigate your system and see like, hey, you're problematic. So it's like you get someone on and then they leave because you haven't made it a place where they can feel supported and comfortable. So
Absolutely. I've had so many experiences where I was like, I joined something and then I looked around like, oh crap, I'm the diversity. Like, so like,
yeah.
Well, that remains to be seen. I think that we're all fairly optimistic about hopefully they're going to make some changes, and that hopefully they're going to make some more melanated changes in the future, and the support for it as well. Emma, it seems like you have some Magic the Gathering card news, but I've seemed to have forgotten it.
Ooh, I love this subject. Yes, because it is, of course, from the Forgotten Realms. Real quick before I dig into it, I do want to give a shout out. We did get a couple of donations. Bonsai, thank you very much for supporting. I think I also saw one from Tabletop Santa as well. So thank you so much. We have the donate in the chat is the information there, and it's going to be going through the stream that happens right after us as well. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, Forgotten Realms, we have talked about. Dungeons and Dragons is just everywhere. Like half our news today is just going to be about D&D. It's coming everywhere, including to Magic the Gathering, which still just totally blows my mind. They have been revealing some of the cards and some of the abilities on the cards. So that's been exciting, including the Vorpal Sword, which I think we had talked about a little bit. Some of the latest spoilers include Drizzt Do'Urden. So yes, they are just putting the characters in there. We debated before about whether, it was going to be specifically the characters from the novels. Yes, they're just front and center for what's going to be in this set. One of the cool, nerdier things, if you're at all into the Magic the Gathering color pie, which is something we described as astrology. There's all these quizzes you can take. It's like, oh, my Teamer, my Jeskai. Drizzt Do'Urden is going to be green-white. So this the Selesnya colors that is often associated with elves. So it does make sense. But it's about life and nature finding a way. And then the white of the color pie is honor and duty, rules, law abiding. So really interesting to see the things there. And then Drizzt makes Guinevere as a token, 4/1 cat token. So that's super exciting as well. All these cards are fascinating and powerful. And if you check out the link too, you'll see that they have the alternate art borders for the cards, which is going to be similar to just the really old school books. So like the dungeon manual and stuff. It's just very reminiscent, no color. It's kind of got like the aged paper look to it. So the borders for these cards are super cool. We also have Lolth, the Spider Queen and Goddess of the Drow as a legendary planeswalker. However, quash a little bit here just about planeswalker lore. Planeswalkers in general can walk between planes. All of the Magic the Gathering cards are in different planes. You're thinking, oh, is Forgotten Realms actually in the universe of Magic the Gathering? It's not. So far, they're not saying that Lolth can actually come out and hang out with Nissa and Chandra and that kind of thing. So there is that. Brunner Battle Hammer was also spoiled here. This, if you like equipment, oh my gosh, you're gonna love this because we have 2 in a red and a white. Each creature you control gets +2/+0 for each equipment attached to it. You may pay 0 rather than the equip cost of the first equip ability each turn. So some of these like super expensive equip cards, really focusing on equipment here. So that's fun and exciting. And it looks like cool stuff is happening. It's going to release for Magic the Gathering Arena on July 8th with worldwide paper release starting on July 23rd. So stay tuned for that. If you like Dungeons and Dragons and Magic, it's all happening just like we thought it would. So
it is. And this kind of ties into news that we have to share a little bit later on. But my theory about why the well-known characters are being are like it's Drizzt and the Spider Queen and everything like that. I think that we're gonna see more media focused on those particular characters. So I think that this is part of a whole unveiling for the wider Magic the Gathering D&D. I think there's a lot of stuff that's gonna start happening, you know, with I'm not what like the D&D Magic the Gathering media multiverse universe.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cinematic.
That's
Cinematic.
I do recall not too long ago, Magic had a Walking Dead set as well.
Mm.
So I'm very amused by the fact that you could have Michonne fight Drizzt. I just that mental image is in my head now, and it's not going away. Sorry.
This is a lot. I mean, I think that there's a lot of stuff that's kind of, I don't know, coming out, and it's just really interesting because this is the start of the Summer of Drizzt as well, of which WotC is kind of unveiling, and yeah, but we'll go into that a little bit later on too. Noir,
Yes.
you have some. We're coming back down to Earth, into the plains. We're planes walking right into the plane of problematic.
Like I feel like I'm the Debbie Downer in this episode. It's just like, hey, we got cool new like D&D cards. Well, let me tell you kids about what's going on in the world of Kickstarter.
Unfortunately, there is some reality going on in Kickstarter. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah. So, the Into the Mother Lands Kickstarter has been going off without a hitch. It's doing fantastic right now. If I were better at my job, I'd be able to tell you exactly how much money they're raising, but it's around
about $211,000.
And that is why Emma is a permanent cast member and killing it. But what I'm bringing up about the Into the Motherland Kickstarter is that there has been a lot of backlash on it that is quite obviously racially tinged. There have been people that have been questioning the resume of the people involved. It's got an all-star. It's got literally some of the best designers in the game. You got Gabe, you got Cypher, you got B-Dave, you got everybody. And there are people that are questioning, what's the final product. They don't mention a lot about the final product. They don't talk about this, they don't talk about that. And we're all in this space and we all watch Kickstarters. And the thing about when a Kickstarter campaign is going on is that it kind of lives and dies by the words going out in the community about it. And this feels very calculated and very much with the intention of trying to sabotage the Into the Motherlands Kickstarter. And through this, we kind of found out that there's not much in the way of moderation on Kickstarter, just in general.
Right.
So the people involved are dealing with really ridiculous claims, accusations, and harassment. And so, like one of my favorite TikTokers says, the devil works hard, but we work harder. So as much as they hate it, I want you to consider giving it a look, backing it, showing some love to these people, because they are dealing with a lot of nonsense for just chasing their dream while being Black. So like,
I love that your favorite TikToker has the same saying as my grandmother.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Maybe your favorite TikToker is my grandmother.
You never know. Maybe your grandma out here killing it on TikTok.
I hope so. I hope Bernice is on the internet. And the thing is, like, how petty do you have to be to pledge something just so that you can send hate? Like, how much of a waste of time do you have? How much time do you have on your hands to be like, I'm going to pledge, I'm going to post some hateful messages, then I'm going to ask for a refund for my pledge. And like, you have way too much time on your hands to be doing this for people who just want to play games.
Exactly.
What possibly could be the reason? I don't get that.
And you want to know. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say there's just a lot of hateful people on here. And I there is something that is to note with a lot of programs and stuff with Kickstarter and also a lot of sites that we see. Moderation isn't really something they think about until somebody of POC status comes in and then gets harassed. And then they're like, oh, wait, we didn't realize that this was a problem. And so, I mean, we've mentioned like, we kind of like, hey, this is kind of like, I think Emma, like a while ago for a couple of months was like, we're starting to notice like sometimes people can abuse the comment section of Kickstarter. There's no real way to curate, regulate, and stuff. And now we're actually seeing as more and more people have access to Kickstarter, we're seeing this problem of, hey, yeah, there is not a lot of protection for those who post their Kickstarter. That's all. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's just, you know, clearly, like as we've all discussed, these people have too much time on their hands. And so do you know how we can make sure that they don't have too much time on their hands? Hashtag make life harder for Nazis.
Yeah. Just overwhelm their circuits.
Just
all this
ruin
stuff.
their day in every way possible.
I feel like, you know, the thing is though, is that this group, like Tanya DeBass, is like really vocal about how, you know, that they're out there and what they stand for and things like that. And I think that that's what makes people a target. But I think that Kickstarter and a lot of companies like Kickstarter, they never think about this stuff until it's too late, until somebody has been harassed or somebody has been doxxed, you know? Mm-hmm. And this speaks to the fact that a lot of these corporations and a lot of these companies, it's mostly white men who are kind of behind it. So they never think of those things ahead of time, even though we as like women, femmes, people of color, trans people, queer people, we think of that probably like the first thing that we think about is like, who's gonna hate me for this thing that I do? And so, you know, seeing these things go on, it's really unfortunate because I feel like a lot of creators just have to accept the hatred and push through it, and that there will be no sort of systemic change. I hope that there will be, but it just feels like you just have to take abuse sometimes, you know?
Yeah. And that, it's very unfortunate, and I'm pretty sure that anyone here that isn't a white male has had at some point somebody tell them that you're going to have to work harder for much less. And I don't accept that. I don't accept that that's the reality. And I feel like the only way that we can directly stop it, even in the minuscule world of TTRPG, is that we need to put a spotlight on it and get real obnoxious about making these people's lives as miserable as possible.
Yeah. Emma? I want to just, I think it's so important to point out the hypocrisy here, and why this keeps coming up is, gosh, you have someone like Luke Crane, Fallen from Grace, who posts a Kickstarter and is known in a certain way, privileged, trusted as a white dude in the space. He can post a sentence like, I'm doing a new thing, and get all this money, and no one bats an eye, you know? And then when people come out who do have incredible backgrounds, incredible resumes, have been doing this show for so long, don't get the same grace and should have more for like for all the work that they've put in. This Kickstarter is so successful because they've done so much work in building the community. They made an amazing world. They've done it. And for people to look at it in any sort of a way and say like, oh, well, why are they so, and to pick it apart, you know, that's the thing that really just like under a magnifying glass, right? That's the difference here. And I think that's what we really need to be aware of and conscious of happening all the time around us.
Yeah.
I mean, you touched on something that, I'll make this brief. You touched on something there, Emma, that I think is really important, which is there have been a lot of people that have had space in this space and have messed that up, who have betrayed the trust that we have put on them. Oftentimes, I find that with the more notable white males, that they have a tendency of re-emerging, right? That same grace is not, that same grace is not given across the board. So I'm telling you this, when things like Into the Motherlands has a Kickstarter, you have to understand, not only are they dealing with the hate that they're getting, but if any one of those people did something that truly was foul and should have got them out of the paint, there are people that would be on a bullhorn letting you know, hey, don't mess with this person. So the people into the Mother Lands Kickstarter, they're good at what they do and they have a solid reputation, because if they didn't, you would know. That's it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. Well, speaking of some even more awesome news than racism and sexism,
I'm sorry. I can't get a preach.
I heard that you have some Squirrel news. Squirrel news is a square. Squirrel news. Squirrel news. Squirrel news. Squirrel news.
This is our cut rate animation here. Not that our team is not great at animations, but we decided this last minute. So I just drew a picture. Squirrel news. That's a squirrel in case.
I love that because the news is green. It's kind of see-through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right. Yeah. I love this show and I love all these cast members on here, because we're going to talk for 2 seconds about Modern Horizons 2, but we're just going to talk about the squirrels. So you can check out the link. You can check out all the spoilers. You can check out all the abilities, the actual good stuff on the cards. Not that squirrels aren't good, which Noir might regale us with the tale in a moment. But they're memey, okay? They can be powerful, but it's a meme. So for those of you who don't know, Magic the Gathering cards, creatures have creature types, and this is stuff elf, druid, warlock, ooze. There's probably thousands of creature types at this point. Some, like warrior, are very frequent, many cards of that type. Some, like horse, very unfortunately, or squirrel, not as many creatures of those types. And one of the archetypes for Magic the Gathering is a tribal deck where you have all of the same type and they work really well together. And one of the joys of people like memes like me is taking one of those rarer types and trying to force it into a deck, even though there's not support for it. So trying to make a squirrel deck, right? Like there aren't that many squirrel cards, but now, especially if you're in modern specifically, like there's some older, super old ones, but not that many. But now we're getting squirrels. Like Mark Rosewater is really just forcing the squirrel thing now. We've gotten like 8 squirrel cards spoiled already in Modern Horizons 2. It's just blowing my mind. We have Squirrel Sovereign, which yes, is a squirrel lord. Squirrels get +1/+1. Squirrels get bigger. Chatterstorm, create a 1/1 green squirrel token with Storm. So for every spell that was cast before it, you make a copy of this. So if you go off and get like copies and get infinite mana or something, you could have like infinite squirrels. This is just squirrels.
More like we could, yeah.
I just feel like the words infinite squirrels should be said with the amount of joy you're saying.
It's just
I mean, how
you
funny,
making like pickles.
Oh
Yeah,
my!
no,
Just
sorry.
which was the super cute one here? I gotta get the picture. Look, I'm gonna post this in the chat because this is adorable squirrel. And if you have to die, would you rather die to some like grumpy, mad person with a sword, or this adorable squirrels?
If I
Where
die,
did you get the warrior's death? Look at this adorable.
if I die by squirrel, you all have permission to lie about it. Please do not let me go out like that. Please. Not for my family. My family doesn't want to see me go out like that. But I'm on your side. It's adorable. You know, I'm totally with you. I just also don't want to die by 1,000 squirrels.
Nobody wants to die by 1,000
I think swarms is just like on the top 10 list of ways to die is by being slowly eaten by a smaller species than you, in like a massive wave. Sorry, I know
I
this
guess,
is just...
I guess it doesn't feel as like tough. Like maybe you feel like you're not cool if you die to a swarm of squirrels. Like an ogre with 10 axes or whatever, you know, is kind of okay. Yeah, sure, that makes sense. But squirrels is like, really, the squirrels? Like you could have just thrown some nuts or something.
This is a question for the chat. Chat, would you rather die by one gigantic angry ogre or 1,000 squirrels? decide in the chat, and then that'll be the final word.
I mean, like, there's no winning if you lose to squirrels. Like, if you get killed by an ogre, if you like punch the ogre before you die, it's like
you're dying
dang,
either way. You're dying either way.
Yeah, but like your friends can be like, Noir went down, but he swung at that ogre. He went out like a G. There is no scenario in which you die by 1,000 squirrels where your friends can describe your death as going out like a G. There's just this.
Okay, what if it's one ogre-sized squirrel or 1,000 squirrel-sized ogres? Okay, which...
That's the real question. Chat, please help us decide this conversation.
Oh my gosh, critical misses. Oh my gosh, Jinx. We said the exact same thing at the same time. Oh my gosh, that's so weird.
That's my partner. Love you, babe.
Moving on to I don't have a card. I should have made a thing because I talk about this every week.
It's just gonna be squirrel news.
We've got some D&D media, movie, TV news. Jamaican air horns.
Oh, I got you. Just give me a second. Oh. I was bored for this.
Hey. We have some more news coming up about the D&D. Y'all better loosen up. Y'all better start stretching because the D&D universe is upon us. So there was rumors that were announced in January about a Dungeons and Dragons TV show that was supposed to be shopping around and looking around mostly at the streaming sites like Netflix and Hulu. We also know that there is a movie in the works that has everybody's baby boy Regis Jean Page from Bridgerton. But there's more information now about the TV show, which is going to be coming out sometime in the future. The writers have already begun writing on it. The studios have already begun working on it. And also, I think that this has some tie-in with this new Drizzt material that's been dropping all summer of what WotC is calling kind of the summer of Drizzt. With the tie-in with the cards, there is a short animated series narrated by Benedict Cumberbatch, who has a velvety voice.
NEC batch.
There's also a new Dark Alliance video game, which also has Drizzt in it. And there's just Drizzt coming out the wazoo. Okay. So my theory is that they're going to take the story of Drizzt, the Spider Queen, how he left his whole pack group, whatever. And they're going to take the R.A. Salvatore books and translate that into a TV show, which kind of makes more sense because the world is so large in D&D that to explore it in a TV show would kind of give more time for storylines to kind of come through and for things to flesh out. And so if you don't know all the lore, then you'll have more time with it versus a movie, which is like, 90 minutes to 160 minutes jam packed. So I feel it, you guys. I feel like we're in it for another like decade of movies and TV shows. I don't know.
They mentioned the movie and they were saying that it was going to be different. So Drizzt is confirmed for the TV show, but then like the TV show and the movie is going to exist in like a different. So it's not going to be the same retelling or whatever. So what's going to be in the movie? Like that's my question.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Banzai.
Maybe there'll be a theme to understand this. Maybe there are planes of existence that they're going to be transferring through. So that's why there's different, someone may walk between the TV
like
series
a
and
planeswalker.
All I know is I've seen some people, like my husband, for example, are just like super don't want it to be like the cartoon where it's like, we're just got sucked into a dungeon and a dragon and we're like in the world and now we're in a dungeon. Like I still think that's cute and it's corny and I love corny. So like I'm there for that, but I know some people who don't want that. They want it to be more serious. So I don't know how you feel about that.
I bet you that they will drop in like a little Easter egg from that TV show. I bet you, because we all remember that TV show, and they're gonna do a little
With
like
the dungeon master, a little
for the
scrawny
fans.
dude.
Y'all
Yeah,
got
well,
it.
like the Jumanji, the new Jumanji movies were surprisingly good. I know y'all hate my movie taste, but I'm just gonna say it was funny. They were funny. Okay.
You just have. You know what? Never mind. We're gonna move past Emma's movie taste.
You don't have taste. You don't have taste. Okay.
We're working on it. It's a work in progress.
I watch real stuff too. I just have a sweet, soft heart.
We're gonna talk about it later. So yeah, no, I'm really excited for this. One of the things that they're also announcing for the Summer of Drizzt is that there will be new action figures, of course, the Magic the Gathering cards, more Funko Pops, of course, there's always going to be more Funko Pops, t-shirts, replica scimitar, and also Halloween costumes as well, which is quite if you want to dress the whole family up as your favorite D&D characters, I guess. I don't know. I'm very interested to see what the Spirit Halloween store is going to look like.
Oh my gosh, but like licensed.
Can we please get brown elf ears?
Yeah, that's awesome. People have to use makeup to change the color of their ears. Come on, we need.
Yeah.
Sick. Lots of you made me figure out what foundation is because I don't know.
Wow.
That's the only way I can get brown elfie.
Wow, wowzers. Noir, I heard there's also some new news in the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Yes, there's been an addition to the cast of the Dungeons and Dragons movie, and that is Daisy Head, who now joins. I'm gonna say it with my whole chest confidently, like I'm not about to mispronounce this gentleman's name. Regé Jean Page.
Yep.
Ooh, that was
You got
correct.
it. You got it. Yeah.
Daisy Head joins that fella, Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, Hugh Grant, Sophia Lillis, Justice Smith, Chloe Coleman, and Jason Wong. So it's coming out to be a pretty impressive cast. I'm kind of curious about where this is all going. According to IMDb, Hugh Grant is playing somebody named Forge Fletcher. So if somebody's read all the books and you know who Forge Fletcher is, hit us up. I would love to know who that is. But if anybody in this cast list had to be Drizzt, it better be Raji. Raji?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You got it. Yeah, Emma?
Yeah, it's just like, what are they doing with the drow here? Like for the TV show, Drizzt, like, I don't know.
Oh yeah, what are they gonna do for the drow? Ooh.
I'll tell you what they better not do.
Yeah, I know. I just...
There better not be a Kyle or Bryce that's cast as a drow. Oh, we gonna have some issues.
Noir, this is a family show.
I'm sorry. I stopped myself.
So, I mean, I'm holding reservations. I'm waiting to see. I'm waiting to see some scenes, a trailer, a sneak peek before I make any judgments about it. And there was recently an interview with one of the writers of the TV show on Collider, and he was talking about how he's read all the books and he was a huge fan, and so it looks like it's in the hands of fans, which is a good sign. But I reserve judgment until we actually get to see something, and I can't wait for the TableTakes live streaming event where we all go to see the movie together.
Yeah!
Watch party.
Speaking of things where people get together and sometimes fight with their friends, Bonsai, I heard that you have some Catan news.
Catan news. Okay, so hey, if you guys were one of those people that in 2005 couldn't get their hands on the $300 3D edition of Catan, guess what? They're re-releasing it again. It's got a nice clean look. This time, hopefully you won't have to it won't be sold out immediately, because I think last time there was only 5,000 copies of this set of Catan. thing. So all the images have just come up. They just released. It's available pre-order. It is going to be, like I said, it's going to be $300. Looks like pretty solid material, and I know a lot of people spent like months like probably carving out or 3D printing a lot of their own 3D versions of Settler Catan. If you're just a fan of it, like I said, it does come with a pretty penny, but that also we have to be aware that maybe hopefully we don't have eBay pirates coming in and making everything sad and cry, because makes me sad. But hey, if you want to pre-order it, if you're a big fan of Catan and want a nice big 3D badonkadonk set, there you go. There's your news. Badonkadonk.
If you can 3D print me a new badonkadonk, I would really appreciate that. Thank you. All right, so moving on, we have disposed of our old bundle boss, and we've unionized, and then the unions were busted, and now we have a new bundle boss. Wait, we're all gonna sing the bundle boss song.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bundle boss,
Bundle
you
boss,
boss of the
you boss of the bundles,
and you boss.
You got the boss. You got the bundle.
Bundle boss.
All right, let's go. It's Bonsai with the bundle boss. I got your bundles here. All right, so here we go. We got Tales from the Loop and Symbaroum. It is a humble bundle set going on. This one, of course, benefits charity water. If you want to go ahead and give to an organization that, hey, water is something that's very important that you need. You can't go 3 days without it. So if you want to go ahead and give that. And Tales of Loops, if you don't know, they're just good. Like if you ever liked Kids on Bikes, you're going to love this. It's also Symbaroum is more of the like fantasy version of Tales from the Loop versus like Tales of Loops is more sci-fi modern. So if you want that, it's just everything, all the books for $18. Great deal. Go get it in the humble bundle, Tales from the Loop. And I'm probably pronouncing that real wrong. Can you guys tell me how I'm supposed to pronounce that? Symbaroum?
Sounds great. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Never mind. I pronounced it correctly. Yes.
Great. Thank you, boss. We appreciate your bossiness. Now we've got the Kickstarters, and we no longer have a monarchy. We're now ruled amongst the people, and we've now democratically decided to split out our Kickstarters amongst the Kickstarter democracy. Noir, would you like to kick us off?
Yes, I would love to. So the first Kickstarter that I'd like to mention is Actually, which is based on the Dropout show of the same name. They've got 18 days left in their campaign. They are already funded, but if you enjoy the show the same way that I do, or if you're just a trivia fan like I am, I highly recommend it. I've been a huge fan of Actually as soon as it played on College Humor. So being able to bring that home and to show off my nerdiness is something that I can't wait to do. Oh, and I go to my second one.
Yeah.
As well? Okay. I know what I'm doing here.
That was my mistake.
No, it's all good. I got this. We'll do it live. All right. So the second Kickstarter I want to tell you all about, I'm a little bit biased, but then the breaks, is Necrobiotic, a dystopian TTRPG, which has 13 days left in its campaign and is currently at about $35,000. So it is funded. But if you want to get some of the stretch goals, like some of the guest writers that they have, like me, then I would highly recommend that you go consider backing them. This is a TTRPG that takes place in a future where the human population just stopped. It's like a Children of Men type scenario where not enough people were giving birth and the death rate rose, and that's the setting that you're playing in, and I highly recommend giving it a look. That being the case, gonna toss it back on over to Emma. Boom, look at that.
All right. I have a Kickstarter to talk about today that's totally still dice. I know that my last Kickstarter has been a lot of dice, but I don't know what to say. There's dice, and they're just good dice. They're all
Don't
good
apologize.
dice.
Don't apologize.
Okay, thank you. This one specifically is groovy dice, groovy mid-century inspired stone RPG dice. I don't know where people come up with these things. Like we had the cat dice with a cat inside a dice, and that was great. We had the eyeball dice, multiple eyeball dice, which are also great. And these are crushed, dyed stone. Like, look, just the colors are amazing. These really do look like 60s inspired. It's just amazing. The colors, lots of aqua blues and yellows and orange and swirls and like TV static and stripes. And I've never seen dice like these before. I think what they're saying is crushed stone with resin to them, which sounds also like a super cool format for a dice. I'm like, how are these going to feel? Are they going to feel like stone dice? Are they going to feel more like resin dice with some weight to them? So I'm excited for that as well. And they look super cool. And some of them are legible. I know for some people that's a factor of whether they want the dice or not. Some of them you can read the numbers. Oh, and the font too. They have that like swirly Austin Powers font to them. I know Austin Powers is not like the go-to thing, but whatever. That people understand what I mean by that. So there you go. Groovy dice, and these have 26 days left, so you have a little bit of time. But if you're planning out your monthly dice budget, as one does, trying to figure out how many dice you're going to buy over the course of the month, then you should put this in your list as a potential option.
You have a dice budget in your
I don't. I should, because I usually just see the dice and then I buy them. But at a certain point, like, you have to be a little more responsible with your money and your shelf space for where you're going to put all these dice.
The next one that I have is Refine and Play Tarot Card Deck. This is 14 more days to go, ending on Saturday, June 12th. I love tarot card. I love them. And I love games that have tarot cards in them. This one is really cool because it is a playing card deck, like your regular playing card deck, but it also has the tarot and the major arcana in it as well. So you can kind of use this for games that use playing cards and games that also introduce the tarot as well into the games. I love it because it has this beautiful wood print, wood blocking sort of print on top of it, which looks a lot like the sort of original medieval tarot cards from, the 12th century and the 13th century and so forth and so on. And it has just a really beautiful, simple kind of overlay to it that's very classy, and I love it. So this one is really good for multiple kinds of things. You can play gin rummy, and then you can tell your friends when they're gonna die. I don't know. So this one has 14 more days to go. It's the Refine and Play Tarot deck. Beautiful, beautiful designs on the top of it. Yeah, check it out.
All right, our last Kickstarter we're going to be talking about is Are You Down with ICE? Ice. You have to, when you find it, you have to spell ICE separately, or else you're not going to find it if it's all just one word. But with 3 more days left, it's a 1 to 5 tile mining board game with, like, very unique mechanics, in my opinion. You assume the roles as archaeological guilds. That word I have to force out. Each looking for artifacts and basically ultimately trying to excavate the artifice, which is the base of the whole entire game. It's like supposed to be the super, super technology that is coming out of the ice. The game is based on the idea that you could just stack a bunch of hexagonal tiles through layers and then slowly dig your way through it to the bottom. It involves like elements of worker placement, and then like tiles that you flip over have like unique effects that happen. I actually back to this Kickstarter, and it just looks, for me, it looks visually stunning. I'm always a sucker for like really pretty stuff. And it just seems like a very captivating, like, hey, civilization, let's go find the artifacts in the ice, even though we're all melting. So, 3 days left, ice.
Well, I've got some good news and some bad news, friends. The good news is that I can now go to McDonald's to get my BTS chicken nuggets. The bad
They're
news
good.
is
Luck.
that this is the end of Table Takes, but the even gooder news is that we have another interview coming up right after this with Noir Enigma, which I feel like I have to always do it in like a
Ta-da!
pose. And Nerdburger Games, Craig Campbell will be joining us very shortly for that. And then we'll have an interview for that. But then we will be coming back again next Friday, where you can join us for more of this hot, super spiced chisme, where we make Nazis uncomfortable and we talk about the sexiest dice in the world. I'm going to miss you guys. Stay safe. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Bonsai, Emma, Noir, it was fantastic. Thank you guys out there who have donated. Please continue donating and please go to the stream and please also keep donating to the organizations as well. Get vaccinated if you can. I love you. You're special and take care of each other and yourselves. Okay, don't touch that dial though. Noir will be right back.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second portion of Table Takes. We have with us a special guest. We've got Craig Campbell with us, who I'm very excited to talk to again, but this time about some new projects.
Hi, yeah, I'm back. Look at me.
Like I'm truly enjoying the fact that this is like my second time getting to talk to you, because like I have been like a Capers fanboy ever since like our first talk. So now I get to become a fanboy of two more of your projects here. So today today we're going to be talking about Nowhereville and Good Strong Hands. But before we really delve into that, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm Craig Campbell, and I'm the guy at Nerdburger Games, like the one person that is a permanent employee of the company, alongside many wonderful freelancers who help do all the things that I don't know how to do. But I make a whole bunch of RPGs. I guess I'm closing in on 5 years. I guess I'm going to call October, November this year to call that my 5-year anniversary of the company. I made Capers, as Noir mentioned, and all the supplements that go along with that, Murders and Acquisitions, Die Laughing. I think when did we talk? We talked about Capers. Was that the last thing we talked about? Yeah.
Yep.
Superpowered gangsters, right? I've been playing RPGs for 30 years, designing kind of bits and pieces off and on professionally for 20. And as I said, like Nerdburger Games kind of started about 5 years ago, and I've freelanced a bunch for some other stuff too. I did a fair bit of D&D freelancing back in like late 3rd and 4th edition.
So with these two latest games out, how many games has that been that you designed? I think that's the answer right there. It's just like, man, come on.
I gotta memorize the number. Okay, Murders and Acquisitions, Capers. We'll call Capers one game, even though it's like 4 books.
Okay,
because it's different settings, and
you've got to nerf yourself. I just want you to recognize that.
Die Laughing. Then I did the 2 zine games here earlier this year, which is Low Stakes and What Once Went Wrong. And then Nowhereville is kickstarting right now, and Good Strong Hands is publishing very, very soon. So that's what, 7?
Whew, man.
Plus supplements and accessories. And there's a little book called Four Little Games that basically just has like 4 very small scale games that's like in a little booklet. And
you mind if I ask which game has your most vocal community?
I think Capers is probably the one that has that's like, if there's a flagship game, that's the one. That's the game that was like did surprisingly well on Kickstarter. It's had a good deal of longevity. It was popular enough that I went ahead and like developed it out into a game line with multiple supplements. And it continues to sell. The supplements and the core game continue to sell okay. So,
I have to tell you, I'm absolutely not surprised. That is a game that is very difficult to shut up about.
That's very nice of you to say.
All right, so let's start to get into the two new projects that you have. I'd love to start with Nowhereville, just because that is my particular cup of tea.
Sure.
It's like a love letter to Stephen King, and so I want you to kind of explain to the audience what's the premise behind
Nowhereville. Nowhereville is a town. And in this town, all sorts of terrible things happen. The problem is that the people who live in the town don't seem to always remember them. Like a very bad thing happens, and then it just kind of fades into memory. And so these bad things continue to happen. And so it's, literal monsters as well as like monstrous people with like terrible agendas, and willingness to do, bad things and cause harm. But everybody just kind of like forgets and it goes away. And then the impetus for the story that you're playing is your character starts to remember. So you decide to fight back and try to, rail against the evil of the town and all the things that inhabit it, because you can't leave. The town is so horrible and dark and nasty that anybody who's been living there, if you leave, you start out just becoming kind of a little ill, and then deathly ill, and then if you don't come back within a day or so, you die. So people literally cannot leave the town. So if you want to be able to, survive in the town long term, where you can also remember all these bad things that are happening, you need to get rid of them. You need to stop it.
All right, so now we know that we're in this place where terrible things are happening and we can't leave. What kind of characters do we get to play in this?
Sure. The game is set up with like 6 archetypal characters, and they're set up kind of like playbooks. If you go to the Kickstarter page, there's one of them that's on there, and each playbook is defined as like your relationship with the town. So there's the old timer, the youngster, the townie, the pillar, who's kind of like, the pillar of the community, like the local celebrity kind of type, the forgotten, the person who's kind of been forgotten by the town and the townsfolk, and then the returned, which is somebody who has left the town but now come back. They managed to leave at some point, but they've come back. And so, the abilities that you have access to, the things that you're capable of doing, are kind of tied into thematic elements that have to do with your relationship with the town. And then there are templates that you can build on top of that in the game as you advance your characters as well, which kind of gets into the Stephen King-esque portion of it, where you could be a pyrotechnic or have like some psychic ability, or you could become a werewolf.
Yes, the superior monster.
So you can build those things into your character as well as the story progresses. So their supernatural elements are there, and the whole thing is kind of an homage to Stephen King stories in general, but in particular, kind of the first half of his career, where he had so many stories that were set in and around the town of Castle Rock. And the question always in my head when I was reading those was, why don't these people just move? Like, why would you stay in this town? So for my game, I had to invent a reason that they can't leave.
See, whenever I think of that question, I think of Castle Rock and Gotham City immediately. Like
Gotham City, yeah. Basically, any city that gets blown up regularly by superheroes. The TV show True Blood. Yeah. The town Bontemps, that's a great one too. Why don't those people just go? Because it's the town is a monster magnet. It's just constant slaughter. And it's kind of funny on the show too. They address that in the later seasons of the show. They actually have characters like, like we're leaving. We're getting the hell out of here.
And what's funny is when you were talking about the archetypes that players can play, it's only because I've been binging this show, but I immediately thought Letterkenny, because you just got such a small town feel that you've got the local celebrity and everything. It's just so now I want to run this with a spooky Letterkenny thing.
Yeah, well, what's is it Wayne? Is that his name? Right?
Yeah, Wayne. He's like the celebrity.
If Wayne is a pillar, probably.
Yep,
he's known in the town for being the guy who never backs down from a fight. Yeah, who's
pitter patter, let's get these monsters.
Yeah, pitter patter, let's get at her. Yeah, you want to inject some humor into it, you could certainly let her Kenny up the town. Canada-ify it.
Oh, I would pay good money to see that. So my next question is, well, without the Canada-ifying it, what's the town of Nowhereville like? Like what are some pillars of the town that you've placed there for us?
Well, it's a small town, 3,000 or so people, kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's not specifically identified where it's located. So the idea is just that what's important is that it's fairly isolated.
Okay.
And there is a map to the town and some locations and things that are kind of built into the town. But one of the things I did with the game was, especially for a smaller scale game, you run the risk whenever you have a setting, you run the risk of once the players kind of have played the game for a while and they know the game, they know the setting, they know all the little details, all the little secrets. They know what these NPCs are like. So what I did was I generated some of the information about the town is kind of set in stone, but a lot of it, particularly the NPCs, are malleable. So each NPC,
okay.
Here's the mayor of the town, Wilhelmina Tweed, and she's described as we give some information about her, she's in her first term, she's a very DIY kind of mayor, she likes to get her hands on stuff, doesn't like the old boys club, of getting deals done at poker games and in the bar and whatnot. But she's also really ambitious and she's willing to do some bad things to get what she wants. And then she has a secret, potentially. Not every NPC has a secret, but she might. And every NPC is given a list of 6 secrets. So you can roll a die or you can pick the one that is best for your campaign. And some of the secrets are mundane, like she's got a body buried in her backyard. Or this, it might be that, well, she's actually a cannibal. Or something really out there, or it might be something fantastic where
then it just bones in the backyard.
She's a werewolf, or some other type of monster, masquerading as human or something like that. So, all the NPCs are provided with that kind of level of choices, so that you could potentially run the game with some of the same players, even on multiple campaigns or multiple one shots, even. And you could shake up who the NPCs are so that the players won't necessarily know, the school janitor at the high school is a vampire. That's why he does all of his work at night. After all the students leave, you can figure all that out and tweak it around.
Oh, I'm so excited. It's that dark mystery in a small town vibe. That's just, that's my jam. But we're gonna take some time to talk about your second project that we have here, which is Good Strong Hands, which is an homage to the 80s fantasy movies that combine whimsy with a dark theme or two. So, what type of folks can you play in this one?
Well, Good Strong Hands is about fantastical creatures saving their fantastical world. So you're playing pixies and brownies and fauns and tree people and anthropomorphized woodland animals, and you can play the king of the raccoons. You can play you can literally I
immediately thought of 2 people that would fight to play that character.
You can play an animated an intelligent magic item, like a magical thing brought to life. So if you love Beauty and the Beast and you really want to play Lumiere, you can play a dancing candelabra. And you're fighting to save your world of reverie from a void. Faceless, malevolent force known as the Void. This thing that reappears every couple hundred years and tries to completely destroy the world. And every couple hundred years, heroes must rise up to defend the world and stave off the Void. So there's all these fantasy elements, but then intermixed with some darker themes and some of the setting information that's provided in there, as well as with your characters, you're always kind of riding the edge of you could fall to corruption. Like the void could corrupt your character, and you could gain these dark powers that help you actually fight the void and become better at being a hero, but also bring you closer and closer to falling into its clutches completely and becoming an agent of the void.
Oh, I love that kind of stuff. So you can get to the point where you have taken on so much void that you are now essentially the bad guy.
You can lose playing. You can lose control of your character to the GM if you go down that road.
I love games that do that. That is like my favorite thing. Because you suck your players in, you get a bonus or two, and then now I have you.
Yeah. Until the players of the remaining characters decide, well, we're going to try to redeem that character and bring them back and return them to the light and help have them continue to fight against the void. Like you can do that too.
All right, so can we get a little bit more about the setting here? Because you had me at King Raccoon.
The setting is, it's a fantastical world. Think of it in terms of like the worlds that you see in, the game is very much inspired by the Neverending Story, Legend, Labyrinth, Willow, like those kinds of movies. So, kind of a fantastical world, but not one that's like super high-end swords and sorcery. It's more kind of whimsical with like weird creatures and, fantastical animals and things like that. And there's a certain amount of information that's provided about this world that kind of falls in those veins. But a lot of the game is built on the idea that the players will help to develop the world with the GM as you play. So, for example, if you're playing a pixie, there's a few sentences about what pixies are like on the pixie playbook, but that's it. And it's up to you playing the pixie in your campaign. What are pixies like in your version of Reverie, in your version of this world? So you can help to define all of that. And then the GM can ask leading questions that helps to fill in gaps on things. And the intent there was to build a game where you're saving the world, right? And there's a lot of different games that are about saving the world. And there's a lot of games where among the stories you can play are ones where you save the world or the universe or the multiverse or whatever. But my hope with having the players help create the world was that they will be more invested in the saving of the world. So that by the time you get to the end and you finally manage to fend off the void, you've fended it off and you have allowed to continue to exist all these wonderful things that you've created besides your own character.
Oh, that sounds exciting. So I've imagined that you've play tested these both like crazy. Do you have any moments that stick out in particular with either one of these games? Because I'm imagining with Good Strong Hands, I could see that one going in a bunch of zany different directions.
Well, the great thing about Good Strong Hands, and I've got a few moments that were like really wild moments, is the great thing about it is that the game is built with so much whimsy to it that you can just, like, if you can think of it, like it fits in the game. Like, why wouldn't you have a flying machine that's basically like a big platform with a rotor that's like an ornithopter kind of thing, that this wacky pilot is saves your characters from the lava by getting you all aboard the machine and taking off, and then later the thing transforms into this giant mechanical tiger.
I love that, games that encourage you to stretch your imagination and not crunch. That's just like, well, if you had +2 more, then you'd be able to. Like, that's the kind of thing that I'm excited about, because I have seen some wildly imaginative people play these kinds of games, and there's always an amazing story to be told.
There's been, I've done, between my own playtests, some stuff I've streamed, and then some stuff that got streamed in conjunction with the Kickstarter and so forth. There's been some really lovely moments of people getting into playing characters in a world where they're having to, do some really monumental things in order to save, because you're saving the world. It should be, it should be tough. There should be work involved, and making sacrifices. And like, you know, by the end of the campaign, you get to the end of a short campaign and somebody decides that their character is willing to sacrifice themselves so that the world can go on. And have these, you know, have those, you know, kind of darker, sadder moments that are sprinkled in there. Because those movies that I mentioned earlier are, you know, there's a lot of whimsy there, but there's a lot of really kind of, there's some dark turns that take place.
We all know the story of the horse that made everybody cry.
Yeah, there's Artax. And I'll say this, like, there's two things to say on all of that. Is one, it's built into the game that like your characters are saving the world, but even if you save the world now, the void's just going to come back.
Yeah,
it's going to happen again, and someday the void is going to win.
Oh, that's
so you're saving the world, but ultimately someday it's
for now
it's all over. And as far as oh boy, spoilers for the Never-Ending Story, a movie that's over 30 years old.
You had your chance.
You haven't seen it yet. Yeah, you had your shot. Like, if you look at I don't know how well I can get people to see this and keep my face up here. That's a person being pulled down into some muck and then being helped out by other characters. Like, the cover of the book is literally me recreating with different characters the scene with Artax in the swamp with Atreyu. And Atreyu trying as hard as he can to get his best friend, his horse, out of the swamp, and Artax continuously sinking further and further down.
That scene made me cry real tears.
Yeah, well, you know what, Noir, that scene affected me deeply enough that 35 years later, I made a game so I can save Artax this time. Because I couldn't do it 35 years ago. I had to sit there and watch our hero's best friend die and think, they're not going to kill the horse.
I'm just imagining you developing this going, not this time.
Not this time, evil, dark, brooding monster thing that we can't actually fight. Not this time. This time Artax lives.
So I do have to ask, just because this is something that I'm curious about, especially, and you're the perfect person to ask this. Were you developing Nowhereville at the same time as Good Strong Hands? And if so, did they ever, like, I don't know, merge in your head, or did one influence the other?
Good Strong Hands was developed first.
Okay.
That got kickstarted last year, and now, you know, it's close to publication now. I used I took the game system that I developed for Good Strong Hands and, you know, made some tweaks to accommodate the things that I need it to do for Nowhereville. So it's a similar, it's basically the same game system with just like a few bells and whistles that have been changed a little bit to go from like fantastical stuff to horror and having really, really terrible things happen to characters on a regular basis. But
Okay.
they didn't bleed over in the way that you're thinking, but certainly Good Strong Hands and the way the mechanics work and how I could kind of turn that into another genre did influence Nowhereville.
Because that's always something that I'm so curious about, because, you know, there'll be times where I'm reading a book and like binging a TV show, and then they'll just get mixed in my head. So I'm like, if you're designing, you know, a couple of games at the same time, I wonder if that happens. But that's good to know. That's good to know. Good Strong Hands was kickstarted, you said, how long ago now?
What was it? Was it the October of last year? Over 6 months ago. It was supposed to be available and be printed and out this month, early in May. Alas, COVID.
The ruiner of everything.
The ruiner, the delayer of all things, has slowed the printer down. Delays generated out of staffing and so forth, and some other things. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that Good Strong Hands is available in June. It looks very likely that it will be. Hopefully that'll happen. If you can't wait, there is a quick start PDF that's free at drivethrurpg.com. and that actually even has a link in it. You can go to that link and sign up to receive one email when the book itself is ready. And I'll send you an email that lets you know that, okay, now the game is, you can actually buy the book and the full game, the full PDF.
That's awesome. In here, let me go ahead and put that link in the chat here, because I don't know about you all, but I want to get my hands on good strong hands so that I too can be a raccoon king.
Yes, you'll want to play the playbook called the Paragon, where you play like the idealized version of an animal. You're kind of like the best version of that animal.
Oh, so it could be any animal.
Yeah, it can be any animal. You can play the King of the Lions, the most important peregrine falcon.
No, that's great, because I know I have a friend that's a possum lord and a person that's a raccoon lord, so now we can all play and nobody has to fight. What other playbooks are in the system?
In good strong hands?
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, there's Pixie, Brownie, Fawn, Woodkin, which are like tree people, Stonekin, which are like rock people, Wildkin, which are if you've seen Sir Didymus from Labyrinth,
yes,
it's that. So anthropomorphic. You can be a foxkin or a bunnykin or an otterkin.
Okay.
Like imps. What else have I all got in there? You can play humans. But the game supposes that the world of Reverie, there are no humans who are native to it. If you are playing a human, you are you come from Earth, or maybe from some other place, but you come to Reverie from outside. So you're an outsider. You're kind of you're not the dominant folk in the world. You're an outsider. You're curiosity.
Okay. That gives me a little bit of a Narnia vibe too.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, all those stories, like, Atreyu was human in Neverending Story, but Bastion was kind of our Earth surrogate for that. And, Labyrinth had, like I'm trying to think, Labyrinth had a character that traveled through there, traveled to there. There's,
This is gonna make me re-up my Labyrinth, because it's been a while.
Yeah, Sarah, and it happens in there's a lot of other movies and things too. Like, Wizard of Oz is, Dorothy goes to the wacky land with all the weird creatures.
What does it say that the first thing I thought was Puff the Magic Dragon? All right. Oh, okay. I've got just a few more questions here for you, and then I can let you go. Which my question for Nowhereville, because that's the one that's kind of sticking with me, is do you see this being another game that ends up having a bunch of expansions like Capers did? Is there anything that, like, while you were developing it, you were like, ooh, I've got a couple of other ideas of where this could go? Because this seems like the start of something that could get much bigger. And I guess I'm trying to see if there's anything you've got behind the scenes that you've been considering.
I don't have anything specific planned. But just spitballing as far as like a supplement that goes to it, I could see, you could like, that's Nowhereville is the small town version of that. You could do like, something that's a play off of that. You'd have to kind of like take a different bent, kind of a different direction with it. But like, you could have a different setting where, you could take the idea of it and turn it into any genre, I suppose, easily enough. You could put it in a fantasy world and kind of ramp up the fantasy elements. You could take it to science fiction and put it on a space station, where no one can leave, and all these aliens and monsters are zooming around in there and coming out of the woodwork.
I instinctually reach for my wallet.
There's certainly a cosmic horror direction that you could take with it too, where like, okay, well, where are all these terrible things coming from? They're coming from this rift in time space, on the other side of which are these monsters that you can't possibly perceive. They're so horrible and evil and vile. There's things you could do with it. I don't know that I will. the Kickstarter's doing well. I mean, it funded pretty quickly and it's growing steadily. But and the nice thing about it too is that it is it's a self-contained. It's going to be 120-ish pages, 130.
Okay.
It's all self-contained. It's all one book. And
I appreciate that as well.
Yeah, and there's gonna be form fillable PDF character playbooks and stuff too, so that'll make it easier to play online, or to have your character sheet on your tablet or whatever if that's your jam. Now you got me thinking, Noir.
I know, right?
Supplements.
I love this is why I love talking to designers, because like you just get them started and they're just like they just keep going.
Well, and I've had that question about good strong hands. I've had that question about good strong hands as well, where you're like, oh, you could take it and you could. I mean, I could hire. Like, I'm not the right person to write some of the things, but like most of the fantastical creatures that are in there are decidedly Western European in flavor. But I could go to Eastern Asia and get some East Asian writers who are much more familiar with that and create stories that would revolve around that and utilize fantastical folk and species and critter types and people from different cultures. I mean, you could take it to different parts of Africa. You could take it to South America, to native North and South American, Central American. I mean, there's like you could literally just keep doing source books that is just like, okay, here's a bunch of different character playbooks and a handful of additional kind of setting information that kind of helps you to like look at some of the traditional elements of stories from those cultures, like the things that tend to pop up a lot outside of the things that just kind of pop up in stories with everybody. But every culture kind of does have certain things that pop up more, that their culture values more.
So the next question I had was you talked about developing the system for Good Strong Hands and changing it up a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about that system?
Sure. It's fairly straightforward. It uses D6 dice. You've got 4 core traits, which are body, mind, charm, and heart, and those are ranked, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. And you roll when you're making a trait check, you roll a number of dice equal to whatever your trait is, versus a target number of 4, 5, or 6, set by the GM. And hello, Siren.
You're not trapped in that town.
No. In fact, I'm getting out. I'm moving in 2 months.
Oh, congratulations! And I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
it's the worst.
It's grueling. But you, so you roll a number of d6 equal to whatever your rating is, versus target number 4, 5, or 6. If you fail to get any successes that hit that target or better, you fail at the thing. There's a complication that takes place that kind of helps to drive the story in another direction or cause some issues, and you mark a skill, which is a track of checkboxes. And when you fill up your skill, you advance your character. So you advance through failure. If you succeed and get exactly 1 die hitting the target number, you succeed, you get the thing, whatever, you do whatever it is you're trying to do, and you mark a spirit, which is a series of checkboxes, and it's a pool of points that you can spend. So you can spend spirit for various things.
Okay.
And then if you succeed with 2 or more successes, you mark a point on a different track, and it's different for Nowhereville and Good Strong Hands. Which one do you want to know about?
Let's start with Good Strong Hands.
Okay, in Good Strong Hands, you mark on the shadow track, and if you fill up the shadow track, you gain a corruption, which is a power that's like a dark, nasty thing. But if you gain too many corruptions, your character falls and becomes an agent of the void.
Yes.
In Nowhereville, instead of, you don't fill up a track, instead you have a check mark that you have a check mark in one box, and if you roll 2 or more successes, you move toward one end or the other, whatever end of the track is closest. And so there's the track it's called the sway track. It's how much sway the town has over you. And so there's a chaos end and an order end. And the chaos end is like where you're embracing kind of what the town is about, and you're a little darker. And there's the order end where you're fighting back against the town. And as you move across the track, you get closer and closer to the end.
Okay.
So you always move toward the nearest end of the track. So eventually you're going to get to the end of the track.
Okay.
And so when you fall off the end of the track, something happens in the game called a horrendous event. And that's when something really, really bad happens.
Okay. You know, I've got to ask you for an example or two.
And it's left more or less to the GM to determine. But it's supposed to be like those moments in Stephen King stories when the really utterly surprising thing happens. Like pick an early Stephen King story. Do you know how many? I don't know how well you know Stephen King. I might be putting you on the spot here.
So I know a little bit, and I immediately wanted to go to It.
Okay,
but...
It. So let me think of where's a spot where spoilers for It, everybody, right?
Because you had your chance.
Yeah, we're gonna have to spoil something about It,
which is just a huge flipping novel. It's just bigger than it has any right to be.
It's really long. I'll do it this way. When this won't give anything away. When the characters are fighting against It, and it happens at some point in the book because it's a big ass book.
It's huge.
When the characters are fighting It, there's a character that gets, shall we say, badly hurt. That would be a horrendous event.
Okay.
Like that in that point in the story, that's where the characters are fighting It. They're winning. Things are going their way, and then dagger to the
reality
heart.
Checks. So I love the way that you're describing it. Perhaps you were alluding to this before, and it just didn't click before. But I love the fact that the town itself seems sentient. Like the town itself, like you described it as the town holding sway over somebody. Yep. That excites me.
The town is a character in the story. It does not have a stat block. It's not a character in that regard, but it has a presence.
Yeah, I've been wanting more TTRPGs to kind of play with that. I recently watched Dr. Sleep, and them going back to the hotel, they talk about it like a character, and so hearing the town referred to in the same way, it's just, I can't wait.
Yeah,
I can't wait to put my players through it.
that came from the town of Derry is a character unto itself. The town of Castle Rock is a character. The Overlook Hotel is a character. In a number of King stories, the setting is like this really malevolent thing that's really like once you get out, you're like, okay, that's it. I'm done. I am out of here.
So I don't know what I'm more terrified of, the town or the void.
Well, you can be terrified of both.
I'm gonna be.
You can have more than one nightmare. Let's go.
That should be the name of my autobiography.
More than one nightmare.
I would have to ask, what's the optimal amount of players for each game, or is it the same each way? This feels to me like maybe a 4 to 5 player type game, including a GM.
Yeah, I think 3 or 4 players plus a GM works well. I think either game would work fine with just 1 or 2 players, so would work okay. And I personally don't tend to run a lot of players. I usually no more than about 4. But the game is set up in such a way that it's not one of those games that you're going to be rolling dice like constantly. It's very narrative driven, and you're going to roll dice to kind of resolve the scene or the moment rather than getting into round by round very often. And even when things get into kind of round by round, they tend to go a little more quickly because there's not so many, you don't have a billion abilities, and there's not a ton of modifiers, and like you
don't have to read over your spells. It just kind of
you've got everything's on one page and it's like ready to go. So you could reasonably play it with more players and still not have too many people lose out on time, because you're not going to get bogged down with like, okay, well now we've got to do this thing that's going to be like really long and dragged out because we've got 6 players. That won't necessarily be the case. So, but I tend to run it with like 3 or 4 players just so that there's enough variation in characters.
All right, and have you played in like campaigns with these systems, or have you done like just mainly one shots? I'm excited to run a campaign in Nowhereville because with the setting itself being a character, I feel like that is something that begs for a campaign. That is something that is just like you want to go to every building in this town.
Both of the games I think run fine as one shots or as campaigns. I think Good Strong Hands is very strong as a one shot, like one story, like, hey, we saved this area from the void. We didn't defeat the void necessarily, but we did this good thing that kind of helped the fight. But you can also do a full campaign where you kind of banish the void in the end. Nowhereville is like, yeah, one shots are definitely doable, but I think it probably would sing a little better, as a campaign, because ultimately I thought, well, you know what, if I'm setting people up that there's this town that you can't leave and all these terrible things happen, there has to be a way to defeat it, right? So if you want to play a campaign, you have to be able to win. The town has to lose somehow. So in the game book, and I don't think I've talked about this anywhere else yet. In the game book,
exclusives.
There's a chapter at the end is called The Big Secret. And that is, again, options, in this case, 6 different options for what is it that makes the town so horribly evil? And what sorts of things could the players have to do in order to end its influence? So there's 6 different variants of like why the town is the way it is. So you could play multiple campaigns and not have that be the same every time.
That to me, that immediately screams like a season 2 deal. Like the first season is dealing with this bad stuff, and then the second season is just like, that's what's causing the bad stuff. Let's stop it. Like this is going to be a fun system to watch actual plays do. I'm a huge fan of actual plays, as I told you last time we talked, and both of these are fantastic. But I've got to give it to Nowhereville for like the thing that is exactly my cup of tea.
Well, there you go. You're welcome.
I mean, good strong hands is going to be funny just because I want to hear people do voices for like furniture and ottomans and creatures.
A sentient recliner.
I'm a magical lazy boy. But you can be, and that's the thing. This is a system that will allow you to be a magical lazy boy if you want, and anything that promotes using your creativity and not being restricted to crunches is something that I am a fan of.
I'm looking forward to seeing your magical recliner character.
I was just about to ask, has there ever, and I think I may have asked this before of you last time, but I have to ask again. Have you ever seen somebody play your game and just kind of went, oh my God? No, nobody has made you ashamed.
The weirder, the better.
Okay.
The game, Good Strong Hands in particular, gives you the opportunity to play, like specifically the Paragon animal and the animated object, like allows you to kind of just like, okay, like what can you think of for this animal? What are they like? Because the only thing you need to worry about is that they are like a, important character in the world. That's the only thing that the playbook really tells you. There's a few little details, and then you can decide, okay, what does that mean for the purposes of, the king of the raccoons or the sentient lazy boy chair.
I'm just imagining a little raccoon with a crowd riding a lazy boy in the battle, and I'm completely wrecked now. Okay. I think we've thoroughly covered these two. I have to ask before we start to head out here. Is there anything that you have under the hood? Anything you're considering? Any exclusives that you might be working on? Anything you want to talk about? I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't check.
What if you were a computer program living inside of you were a program living inside of the computer world like Tron, and the computer you were living in crashed for the last time. It's going to crash. This is the end of the computer. And so it's the apocalypse. How about that?
I have a feeling we're going to be talking again because I have questions that need answers immediately.
Well, I'm still working on those answers, so it's going to need to be a little while.
All right. Well, in that case, thank you again so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have you, Greg. If you could tell the people where they can find you.
Sure. You can go to nerdburgergames.com. You can go to drivethrurpg.com for the game books, for the quick start of Good Strong Hands. The books, like the really nice books that I'm getting printed as part of the Kickstarter, those are going to be available only through the website, my nerdburgergames.com, and at some conventions. So if you want the really fancy, nice, strong, sturdy book, that's the way to do it. And I am at Nerdburger Craig on the Twitters.
Definitely get the stronger, fancier books. They look good on your bookshelf. That is the end of our interview here. Thank you all so much for joining us. Please be on the lookout on Monday, 4:30 here at Gen Con. They have One Man Murder Maze. It's a one-on-one D&D podcast featuring Invader Zen staff writer Eric Trueheart and the voice of Riki Simmons. Which I didn't know that until right now, so I definitely need to check that out. That's amazing. And then on Monday at 6 p.m., Board Games with the Brothers Murph. Join brothers Nick and Matt as they hang out and game together. And on Wednesdays at 10 a.m., things get dicey, so join Paula Deming and Matthew Jude compete against each other in online tabletop games. This week, they're going to be playing Chai Tea. And also, remember to follow and subscribe, turn on your notifications. And if you miss a show, you can find most of our streams on YouTube just one day later. And if you want to connect with other Gen Con fans, please check out the official Discord. Thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you, Craig Campbell, for stopping by and telling us about your amazing projects. And thank you to the Gen Con and TableTakes team for having me as a guest. I hope to see you all again soon. Next, we do have coming up shortly the Rivals of Waterdeep and Asians Represent charity stream coming up. So please check that out. Continue to donate as they're going to a very worthy cause, especially the Cook County jail bond. I live in Chicago. And so the fact that you all are helping out my city means a lot. So just thank you all for the support. Thank you all for the donations, and we'll see you again next Friday.